Welcome to the deep dive. This
Yeah.
is where we take your notes, your sources, and really try to uncover the hidden gems within them. Today, we're embarking on a really unique kind of exploration. It's a journey into self-understanding, actually, seen through the fascinating lens of the animal kingdom.
Exactly. We've got this rich set of animal research notes here for one of our listeners. Let's call her Val. And these notes, they explore this idea that different facets or modes of Val's personality, we're calling them subpersonalities here, can be represented really powerfully by three specific creatures: the Komodo dragon, the barracuda, and the dragonfly. It's quite an intriguing way to think about personal traits, your inner workings.
Yeah, it really is. So our mission for this deep dive is to truly, well, unearth these three powerful animal archetypes. We'll dig into their scientific marvels, their cultural significance, their psychological impact, and then see how they kind of integrate, how they form what Val calls her unique ecosystem. You know, her strengths, her watchouts, her strategies. Think of it as maybe a shortcut, a way to get quickly informed about this very personalized, but also, I think, universally insightful framework for understanding yourself. Okay, let's start then. Our first incredible creature, the Komodo dragon. The notes peg its core vibe as composed, formidable, strategic. I'm immediately picturing this sort of ancient power, something that commands respect just by being there.
Yeah, and it's more than just the size, isn't it? What's really fascinating, I think, is how the Komodo isn't, well, it's not flashy. It embodies this patient apex predator. It conserves energy, it reads the terrain meticulously, and then, only when the moment is exactly right, it makes one decisive, powerful move. And this really mirrors Val's ability, apparently, to exert influence. Not through constant volume, or seeking the spotlight, but through steadiness, through results. There's also this strong guardian element, like an island keeper, fiercely protecting her circle, her standards.
I can definitely see that connection to Val's style. It clicks. And looking at the biology here, I mean, adults up to 10 feet, 150 pounds or more, that's serious. But what specific trait do you think really captures that formidable strategic presence for Val, beyond just, the sheer size?
Well, the size is impressive, obviously, but it's the details, I think, that amplify its essence for Val. Think about those teeth. Powerful, serrated, but they're replaced constantly, like every 40 days. That constant renewal suggests Val, too, has this hidden, always ready aspect, a continuous sharpening of her tools, maybe, even when she seems quite still.
Ah, okay.
And those osteoderms, basically chainmail scales under the skin, that speaks to this inherent, almost impenetrable resilience, protection.
That's a great point, the quiet, continuous renewal.
Oh,
Interesting. But what about their senses? The notes mention that forked yellow tongue, detecting carrion nearly 6 miles away. How does that translate for Val?
well, it speaks volumes. It points to Val's acute awareness, doesn't it? Her
Okay.
ability to sniff out opportunities or make problems long before others do. It's like a primal foresight. And they're mainly active during the day, limited night vision, masters of their specific island domains. This suggests Val might prefer operating where things are clear, well-defined environments, where her senses are most effective, where she can really survey her landscape and pick her battles.
Right. And their behavior is just as compelling. Solitary hunters. Stealth. Bursts of speed up to 20 kph, which is pretty wild for something that big. Plus, the young ones living in trees to avoid, well, being eaten by the adults.
Hmm.
That's intense.
Almost, yeah.
But parthenogenesis, a single female producing viable male offspring, no mate needed. Expert. Thinking about Val's self-reliance, how does that specific biological detail deepen the archetype for her?
It underlines this extreme self-sufficiency. For Val, it's not just about being independent. It's possessing this innate capacity to generate, to sustain, even against the odds or without external input. It's not just problem solving, it's almost creation from within. Though on a more serious note, despite all this, Komodos are endangered.
Hmm.
It's a stark reminder maybe of the pressures even on the most formidable. For Val, it could symbolize the need to really protect her own vital resources, her boundaries, in a world that's always changing.
And beyond the biology, the cultural side is just as potent. Locals calling them land crocodiles, tales of transformations, legends like the dragon princess, guardian narratives tied to sacred sites.
Definitely. In many Asian cultures, dragons symbolize primal power, protection, control over nature, that yang energy. So by extension, the Komodo is seen by some Indonesian communities as the spiritual guardian of their islands, mystical protective traits attributed to them. This really reinforces the idea that Val, when she's in her Komodo mode, carries this weighty, almost sacred responsibility for her domain, for the people she protects.
It's incredible how those ancient instincts translate, isn't it? So how does this manifest in Val's everyday strengths and maybe her challenges?
Right. For Val, the Komodo archetype clearly points to authority without noise. Her influence comes from that quiet, steady presence, the proven results. Not shouting, there's risk realism. She takes calculated shots. She respects limits like a survivor who knows the terrain.
Okay.
And that profound self-reliance. She's comfortable being solitary when deep focus is absolutely needed.
I can clearly see that. Strong connection. But I wonder, does that same quality, that patience, maybe ever become a watch out for Val in terms of, say, speed or adapting quickly?
It certainly can. That's a key watch out. Over-conservation of energy. Patience is great, but waiting too long. You can miss critical windows. And that protective distance, that self-reliance, can sometimes read as perceived aloofness.
Ah.
She might seem unapproachable, maybe even cold, even if her intentions are entirely protective or focused.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you're Val, when should you really lean into this Komodo energy? The notes suggest things like high-stakes negotiations, crisis triage, setting really clear boundaries, and playing the long game, where patience is definitely a virtue. That's when you bring out the Island Keeper. All right, so from the Komodo's formidable, grounded power, let's pivot. We now dive into something completely different, the Barracuda, embodying speed, focus, clarity. This feels like, an almost instant kind of force.
That's a perfect way to put it. Instant. Barracudas are built for bursts. 0 to 60 decisions, laser targeting, crisp execution, no fluff. This perfectly captures Val's cut-through-the-fog mode, where she just slices right to the essential information and acts decisively, especially when ambiguity is slowing everyone else down. It's pure speed and precision, really, not the Komodo's grounded force.
And yeah, their physical traits scream efficiency. That elongated torpedo shape, those big jaws, sharp teeth. The great Barracuda hitting over 6 feet, every bit is designed for swift, focused action.
Exactly, and their habitat reflects that. Tropical, subtropical waters. Near reefs, seagrasses, mangroves, places that need quick navigation, ambush tactics. They're apex predators feeding on other fish. And they're hunting. Textbook ambush. Bursts of speed up to, 35 miles per hour?
Wow.
Juveniles might school, but adults, mostly solitary. Again, focused on that individual decisive strike.
Incredible efficiency. And good news on the conservation front, mostly least concern. Stable populations overall, though, some local dips, still a real force. Culturally, though, the Barracuda has some fascinating twists. In Hawaii, the great Barracuda, the kaku, was actually seen as cooperating with fishermen.
Really?
Yeah, earning the title Shepherd of the Sea. Quite different from the usual Tiger of the Sea reputation, right? As a spirit animal, it often symbolizes fearlessness, determination, focus, swift action. So this dual nature is interesting for Val. Sometimes that fierce individualist, other times maybe a surprising guide or collaborator.
Interesting contrast. So for Val, how do these Barracuda attributes translate into strengths and the potential pitfalls?
Well, the strengths are clear. This archetype highlights decisiveness. Val's knack for identifying the one action that really shifts the outcome. She's a momentum maker, someone who breaks through analysis paralysis, gets things moving, others kind of draft in her wake.
Right.
And crucially, she has that instinct for signal over noise, cutting through the clutter to see what actually matters.
That razor focus sounds incredibly effective, almost intimidatingly so. But I imagine that kind of directness might have its own set of challenges. Oh, absolutely. The edges can be too sharp. Val's directness might come across as blunt sometimes, and those quick moves, they can startle collaborators who aren't quite operating at the same speed or wavelength.
Yeah, I can see that.
And there's the risk of sprint fatigue. Staying in that high-gear Barracuda mode constantly, you can really strain relationships and just deplete personal stamina. Burnout's a real risk if it's not managed.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you're Val, when's the time to unleash the Barracuda? The notes point to tight deadlines, competitive pitches, first-mover opportunities, rescuing stalled projects, basically any situation where swift, focused, decisive action is absolutely critical. All right, our final creature, the dragonfly. This brings a whole new dimension, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The vibe is awareness, adaptability, lightness, it feels. Yeah, almost like a breath of fresh air after the intensity of the Komodo and Barracuda.
Definitely a shift. And connecting it to the bigger picture, the dragonfly is just such a powerful symbol of metamorphosis, of clear seeing. Their incredible, almost 360-degree vision, their aerial agility, It maps so well to Val's reflective intelligence, her capacity to reframe things, to pivot gracefully, spot patterns others completely miss. There's also this quiet joy about them, I think. A reminder for Val, and maybe all of us, to stay curious, stay connected to the wider context, to be open to new perspectives.
Their biology is just stunning. Those huge compound eyes, thousands of lenses giving them that panoramic view, two pairs of transparent wings, often iridescent, that elongated metallic body that just catches the light. Even their nymphs are camouflage adaptability right from the start.
In both stages, the larva naiads and the adults are predators.
Yeah.
Adults are incredibly agile flyers, up to 25-mile-per-hour, catching mosquitoes, other insects on the wing. They're vital test controllers, actually, found near freshwater. Males are territorial, defending breeding sites. And that unique wheel mating posture. It's an entire life cycle built around sharp observation and swift, precise movement.
Amazing to think they evolved from giant griffin flies like 325 million years ago. That's some serious lineage.
Ancient, yeah.
But like the Komodo, they face threats. Habitat loss, wetland drainage, pollution, leading to conservation efforts.
And one truly mind-blowing fact. The globe skimmer dragonfly, Pantala flavescens, might be the most widely distributed insect on Earth, known to migrate something like 18,000 kilometers across oceans.
Wow.
It just underlines their incredible adaptability and reach, a spirit that crosses boundaries, sees the bigger picture, interconnectedness.
And culturally, they're just as rich. Art, jewelry, revered by samurai in Asia for courage, rebirth, seen as spirit messengers in Native American lore, bridging worlds. How does all that symbolism deepen our understanding of Val?
Profoundly, I think. This archetype represents incredible strengths for Val, like perspective, that ability to see the whole system, not just one isolated symptom. It also signifies emotional agility. Val can shift her stance, adapt, without losing her core integrity, and she can be a bridge builder, moving smoothly between different worlds like strategy and story, logic and intuition.
That sounds like a really powerful way to navigate complexity. But with all that vision, all that ability, could there be a downside, a watch out?
Absolutely. Those restless wings can lead to too much scanning, constantly looking around, which might dilute commitment if the insights aren't grounded. Similarly, there's the risk of ephemeral focus. Brilliant ideas might just drift away if they aren't carefully captured and tied to concrete actions. They lack the Komodo's anchor or the Barracuda's decisive strike if you're not careful.
Right, need to land the plane. So for Val, when should she channel this transformative dragonfly energy? The note suggests vision work, culture work, mediating conflicts, creative problem solving, and during times of personal growth. Basically, whenever insight, adaptability, and connection are the most valuable currencies.
Which brings us to the big question, really. How do these three powerful, quite different archetypes, Komodo, Barracuda, Dragonfly, how do they actually integrate? How do they form Val's complete ecosystem? Because it's clearly not about being just one, it's about their dynamic interplay.
Exactly. It has to be about the synergy. You can almost picture the operating rhythm, right? The dragonfly scans the horizon, sees the patterns, the possibilities, that broad, insightful view. Then the Komodo dragon chooses the right ground, establishes that steady, formidable base for whatever needs doing. And finally, the Barracuda executes the decisive strike, brings that focused, swift action when it's needed. It's like a natural progression.
And think about leadership style. It could start with the dragonfly's clarity and wide perspective, then move to the Komodo's ability to hold boundaries, maintain that stable presence, and then deliver with the Barracuda's velocity, that decisive action. For communication, too, the dragonfly's empathy, seeing multiple viewpoints, can soften the Barracuda's, let's say, bluntness,
Right.
while the Komodo's calm, grounded presence kind of steadies both, making sure messages land with both power and consideration. It's about calibrating, choosing the right energy.
Yeah, and in specific areas, this trio offers really practical guidance. For work, Val probably thrives in roles that naturally blend discovery and decision-making. Things like maybe product development, strategy, ops. She needs autonomy, that's the Komodo. Clear goals to aim for, that's the Barracuda strike. And those learning loops, feedback, that's the dragonfly perspective.
And in relationships. This ecosystem could translate to protective loyalty, very Komodo combined with crisp, maybe sometimes challenging honesty, that's the Barracuda, and that attuned listening, the dragonfly's awareness. The real key there is probably pacing. Leading with curiosity, with understanding dragonfly observation before jumping to conclusions, which might be that Barracuda impulse kicking in too soon.
Good point. And critically, what about under stress? How does Val manage? Each archetype likely has its own stress reaction, right? Komodo might withdraw, isolate. Barracuda might overaccelerate, get impulsive. Dragonfly might just overanalyze, get lost in the possibilities.
Exactly. So a helpful reset ritual, maybe something Val could use, might involve a brief pause, that Komodo breath, just regrounding. Then naming the one critical lever, that Barracuda clarity, cutting through the overwhelm, and finally reconnecting to the bigger purpose, drawing on the dragonfly's sense of meaning and perspective. It's like a full circle reset.
That's really useful. And the framework also points to specific growth edges for Val based on these archetypes.
Right. For the Komodo aspect, it suggests maybe practicing scheduling more unarmored check-ins, sharing thinking earlier than feels natural perhaps to build connection and counter that potential aloofness.
Okay. And for the Barracuda, the growth edge seems to be about adding just maybe one sentence of context
Yeah.
or care before delivering that direct message or taking action. Just a little bit of cushioning, it could make a huge difference in how things are received, ensuring impact without accidental sharpness.
Yeah, exactly. And for the dragonfly, the advice is maybe to time box those exploration phases. Make sure that brilliant, expansive thinking actually leads somewhere tangible. Always aim to end with a clear decision, maybe assign an owner, just to ensure grounding, keep those great ideas from just drifting off.
So ultimately, for Val, it seems this all boils down to a pretty powerful one-line mantra, something that brings all three into harmony. See sharply, stand surely, strike clean.
That captures it perfectly. To the dragonfly's sight, the Komodo stance, and the Barracuda's action, working together, integrated. Really remarkable map for personal effectiveness, actually.
Wow. What a truly fascinating deep dive into self-understanding, all through the incredible world of animals. We've seen how the formidable Komodo dragon, the precise barracuda, and the transformative dragonfly can symbolize this powerful, integrated personality. It's such a unique lens.
It really is. And this framework, combining the science with this rich symbolic meaning, it offers such a profound way to understand your own strengths, maybe identify potential challenges, and then strategically channel different parts of yourself. For impact, sure, but also for well-being. And while this was tailored for Val, these are really universal lessons, I think.
Absolutely. So, thinking about all this, what really stands out to you from our deep dive today? We've explored Val's unique ecosystem, but now maybe take a moment to consider your own. If you had to pick three animals, three creatures to represent your core strengths, your own watchouts, maybe a personal mantra for growth, which ones would they be? What animal archetypes do you resonate with? And how might they integrate to define your unique approach, your own personal ecosystem out in the world?
Hmm. Definitely something to reflect on. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.